All right, hey VC, how you doing? My name is Jamie. Welcome back. We are back with a CD roundup this time. These are some CDs that I've recently picked up, haven't had a chance to show, and I thought I'd get to them now. And also, I do have some Christmas vinyl that I picked up for cheap recently. Okay, so for the CDs, interesting. I haven't seen these CDs shown in the vinyl community on either CD or vinyl. So let's get to them. First off, if you have Netflix, got to check out the documentary Echo in the Canyon. Very entertaining. This spotlights the music of the 1960s. Laurel Canyon features Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son, interviewing people like Roger McGuinn of the Byrds, also Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, Ringo Starr. There's also Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and Papas, David Crosby, Stephen Stills, Graham Nash, to name just a few. And yeah, Tom Petty featured, and I think it's going to be one of the last things Tom Petty did before his death. Now, Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son, has the most deadpan delivery and interview style I think I've ever seen, but at the same time, it's very entertaining. And he's obviously well liked in the music community and the entertainment world, but check it out, the documentary. So this is the soundtrack. So this features all covers of those, great songs from the 60s, Laurel Canyon, like Go Where You Want to Go, Mamas and Papas cover, also In My Room from the Beach Boys. There's Never My Love that features Jacob Dylan and Norah Jones. But I think my favorite on here is a cover of the song Questions that features Jacob Dylan with Eric Clapton, who's also interviewed because Eric Clapton was kind of in and out of the Laurel Canyon scene. So it's Jacob Dylan with Eric Clapton on vocals and guitar and Stephen Stills on guitar. It's amazing. Great cover of the song Questions. And so it's well worth checking out. And it's just a fun soundtrack. Beck is also featured as one of the artists covering songs, and Norah Jones, as I mentioned. But this also comes with a fun little poster, which I'm hoping that the vinyl would also have a poster included. But it's just a fun poster that kind of advertises the movie Echoes in the Canyon. And so I'm hoping the vinyl has the poster in sort of a nice LP size. So well worth checking out. If you haven't seen it, do see the documentary on Netflix. And the soundtrack is really fun. I really enjoyed it. Okay, moving right along. Here's a recommendation from Miss Lady Soul in Vancouver. I don't know how much jazz you're into, but boy, John Coltrane, Blue World, released this year. And I was going to pick this up anyway because I'm a John Coltrane fan, but then I had no idea about the Canadian Montreal connection on this. So there was a filmmaker in Montreal who released a movie that featured John Coltrane music. And that filmmaker was actually able to get in touch with John Coltrane. This is back in the 60s. And he was able to get in touch with John Coltrane and feature music that was specifically recorded for it. And now there'd never been a soundtrack released or anything like that until now. So these are kind of alternate takes on John Coltrane material. But yeah, the filmmaker was able to get in touch with John Coltrane. Coltrane recorded some tracks for him, and they were able to feature them in the movie. But I had no idea about the Montreal connection with regards to this until I picked up the CD. So it's all documented in the liner notes for here. And absolutely. I'm going to have to try to track down this film, but there you go. And it's John Coltrane. Sounds amazing. And on the classic Impulse label there. And there's just the feature of the booklet there. So, so maybe a recommendation for Miss Lady Soul. Or a nice Montreal connection. John Coltrane, Blue World. And speaking of Montreal connection, also picked up Leonard Cohen's Thanks for the Dance. Leonard Cohen, a posthumous release, features only 9 tracks, newly recorded music to Leonard Cohen's vocals. Daniel Lanois involved in this project, and overall, if you're a Leonard Cohen fan, you're going to love it. I really enjoyed it overall. It felt like it was maybe just a little bit too short, but when you've only got so much material available, but I think they really did a lovely, lovely job. When it's dark, it's somber, it's moody, it's Leonard Cohen, and so well worth checking out. And again, talk about that Montreal connection there. Great Leonard Cohen. And there's one slight quibble on the back here. I don't know if I may have talked about this briefly, but in terms of on CDs, I'm finding a lot of times they'll have this little sticker on the back to tell you where it was made, be it made in the USA or LCC made in Mexico or made in the Czech Republic. And it's usually a little, it's almost like a transparent sticker that it does have a little thing that you can peel it off. And that's fine when it's on like a plastic hard jewel case. You can easily peel it off and it's fine. But if they put it on the back of something like this, like a cardboard back, when you peel it off, it's really hard to get it off without, leaving, some scratches or some, slight gooiness. So I'm seeing that more and more on some of the CDs, and I don't quite know why we have to have all these made in wherever stuck on the CDs, but it's just a little quibble about packaging. It's fine again when they put them on hard, jewel cases, but on cardboards, outer sleeves, it's not such a good idea. I mean, you wouldn't want to see that on a vinyl album. Okay, I picked up the new Who album, and I hadn't realized, I mean, the new Who album's coming out. I hadn't realized they were just calling it Who. It's not Detour, it's just Who. That's the name of the album. This is a Peter Blake designed cover. And overall, I think it's great. Roger Daltrey's on great vocals, and I think the songs overall are great. This one features the 3 bonus tracks. Now, I know Roger Daltrey's been in the news saying how he doesn't like the bonus tracks at all. I think the bonus tracks are great. Overall, I think it's a great album. I was really pleased with it. I do like it a lot better than Endless Wire previous to that. I'm always a fan of bonus tracks. I don't think the bonus tracks would be available on the vinyl. But I hadn't realized it was just called Who for some reason. I thought they were having some sort of title for it. But there you have it. Roger and Pete. But overall, I think it sounds great. Very enjoyable. And I'm going to give them at least credit for putting some new music out where they don't have to. They can just keep playing the oldies in concert. I give them credit for putting some new music out, and it's nice to have this in a slipcase like that as well. Simply called Who. I think they could have taken the time to come up with some sort of title, but maybe it'll become known as Detour. Who knows? Okay, interesting. I hadn't realized this was coming out. I'd read about this, and this was sort of available as a limited release. This is the newer, shall we say, revocalized version of Yes's Fly From Here. So this was produced by Trevor Horn. This features Chris Squire on bass, and Canadian was originally the lead vocalist, a fellow by the name of Benoit David. It's a great album. It was released a few years back now. But they decided somewhere along the road that, hey, Trevor, when Trevor was performing with Yes as part of the 50th anniversary tour, hey, Trevor, why don't you, do the vocals or re-record the vocals using your vocal, and it'll be like back to the Yes drama years with the same band. And so that's what they did. So Trevor Horn, the producer, redid the album with his vocals. If you were listening and didn't know, you probably couldn't tell. Very similar sounding in style overall. In this one, they do have the full-length version of the song Hour of Need, and then there's also another track called Don't Take No for an Answer that's included. It's a very nice presentation, nice hardback, nice liner notes explaining it all, so there you have it. And that was in the original album, but I think Benoit David was like right here, so he's been cut out, and that's Trevor Horn. And interesting, Trevor Horn has lost a considerable amount of weight since that photo, so that's kind of more what he looks like now. So, but overall, enjoyable. But as I said, if you weren't listening closely, you might not be able to tell. It's interesting that they just didn't do that in the first place, kind of thing, but whatever. There you go. Okay, Bruce Springsteen, Western Stars. This is the songs from the film. It's Bruce Springsteen. It's very stripped down kind of thing. Very enjoyable overall. Don't know too much else to say. That he's been quite prolific lately, releasing lots of stuff. But this is the Western Stars songs from the film. I don't know if that gives you an indication. You can see that the track listing there. But overall, really enjoyable. I'm a Bruce Springsteen fan. And another Bruce Coburn, released a new album. This is all instrumental. Bruce Coburn is a very underrated guitarist. He is fantastic guitarist, particularly on acoustic guitar. This is all acoustic. It's very mellow. Great Canadian singer-songwriter, very folky kind of guy, but who knows how to rock, and he can play some nice electric guitar. But on this one, it's pretty much all acoustic guitar, but very enjoyable overall, but maybe not to everyone's taste. Okay, and last but not least, in terms of the CDs, I did pick up the Miles Davis Rubber Band. If you're a Miles Davis completist, I would pick it up. If you're not, it's okay. It's kind of a little, I don't know, funky, disco-y kind of thing. I can see why this, hadn't really been featured as much before. I mean, it's okay. It's not great, but love Miles Davis, so I had to pick it up. Might have to give this a few more spins just to maybe get into it, but Miles Davis Rubber Band. Okay, and just quickly, I'll take a look at some of the vinyl I picked up. Now, at the last record store day, this was for the Black Friday one, went to a Sound Fixation here in town, and Trevor threw in a vinyl album, of a Christmas album, a James Last Christmas album, and I'm like, really? But overall, actually, it's not bad. Christmas with James Last, with all the titles, looks like in German, I'm assuming. But overall, it's, I'm not a big James Last fan, and I was a little surprised, but overall, it doesn't sound too bad. So James Last Christmas, Gene Autry, Christmas with Gene Autry. I picked this up just for a couple of bucks, and overall, really nice. And this was on the Republic label, which is well worth checking out. But it plays great. Like, I just picked it up for a couple of bucks. It plays really nicely, but on classic Republic records. Gene Autry, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And last but not least, Dean Martin's Christmas album. This is not on Capitol. This would be, I believe, a later reprise release. But overall, very enjoyable too. Dean Martin, Christmas album. Gotta like Dino. And that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for dropping by. Take care. Bye-bye.